Okay, I think we're all set. I think we're good. Whew. Howdy, Xavier. Hey, look, it's the Great Tree. Yeah, look, yeah, it's totally the Great Tree. God, I'm so glad the DLC seems to more or less killed that avenue. Hello, you are spared today. Oh, thank you, sir. Good sir, I'm so grateful. Alrighty, now let's see. I want to mention the lions here. Oh, but I don't know where to actually fit them in. I'm gonna have to look at that. I have to look at where I talk about the throne and stuff. Maybe I can... Yeah, I don't think I can make this work. I think this is gonna be the best I can get. I still see it. What do you mean? Do you still see the lions, or... what? Oh, you mean the Great Tree Theory. Oh, great. Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. This is harassment levels of forcing a shot. I'm trying, okay? Just gotta stick it through the hole. It's fine. It's fine. Won't even feel a thing. Not even a tight fit. Ay, ay, ay. Hey, Mercy. Didn't know you were one of those freaky ones, Loki. Ooh, woo, noted. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. Alright. I think I'm gonna have to start subdividing my folder on Leyndell because it's becoming so bloated with all the different shots I've taken of everything. Like, I already have Leyndell Coliseum as its own thing. Because of the interior arena stuff anyway, so I think I might just make it where Fortified Manor District will get its own thing, the Sanctuary will be its own thing, the General City and the Lower Quarter will be each their own things. I think that's going to be what we're going to do. So, volcano stones drop from these guys down here. So the last question would be, do they drop from any other of these clusters? Or is it purely here, right? That would be the last thing where I'd be like, okay, maybe there's still more we don't understand. My favorite area. Yeah, I do love it. Even without the music, it just is... It's definitely really good. Scratches, though, we never get to explore the city of Anor Londo type itch. Did I tell you the Shadow Tree Thorn spells count as the Briar spells for damage bonus purposes? I don't recall. Maybe you did. But let's be honest, does it really matter if I don't remember? Altus Plateau, Sage's Cave, Windham Ruins. Alright, so we have some guys over here, which are connected to Windham, right? We have some basilisks over here, which are connected to Lake of Rot, right? Shaded castles... The bigger question now is if the shaded castle connection... Because here's my thought process. I'm thinking that the rebellion on the Weeping Peninsula was coordinated. This has been a problem I've had the entire time with this rebellion, is why the hell is it so systematic when it's just a bunch of, like, you know, a bunch of slaves all across it? Like, how do you get them all to revolt all at once and spread like wildfire? Well, if it was something that was coordinated by some secret agents who were able to get all the different, you know, groups of slaves to know the date and time when they were supposed to all revolt, and therefore cause a panic and system collapse over the entire command structure, and maybe even supply them some of their weapons, then that would make sense. And that would explain the chest with the talisman back here, right? But then the question is, we have an invasion from a guy, so is that just a guy who followed Malay Marais back from Lake of Rot, where we know they seem to be getting all their rot bolts? They seem to be using the lake as the source of that? Is that where they're going? And he happened to, like, I guess, recruit one of them or bring him back? Or is that agent there, maybe they did meet there, but the agent is actually somehow involved in just the extent of which Malay's descent into, you know, simpery caused the collapse of the Shaded Castle. See, I can understand why the Two Fingers Confessor spy people would do this here, right? To help destabilize Godric's domain and stuff like that. Maybe force him to commit resources. Overall, just weaken Godric so it's easier to take his Great Rune, considering how well fortified Stormveil Castle is, right? Anything he could do to drain his manpower, because he's only got so much of it. Speaking of not knowing what's going on today, what's the plan? The plan is really just for me to enjoy a short stream with you guys while we look at different enemies and stuff. As I continue to try to get into the minutia and sort of jot down where and when people are, I should say enemies are located and what they're doing, what they're dropping, that sort of stuff. Yeah, they count as thorn sorceries for the Staff of the Guilty in Albert, so it's cool. I don't care about the militia people, right? Like, they're pretty straightforward. Like, they'll work for anybody, basically, and do any job, no matter how bad. Stillwater, again, I guess the idea would be some Melania people, escape, but they, you know, they haven't gone all the way back yet. We have some of those people over here with their cult thing, right? I guess the one question I do have is the poison rising up or is it coming down? Here, let me check something. Let's do this. Oh, okay. Oh, for a second I didn't know my right from my left. I was so confused. Well, it's not like Abandoned Cave. Yeah, it looks like it's rising. Because they're not doing the Abandoned Cave thing where they have the poison actually, like, dripping down and stuff. Regarding Silver Tears a few streams ago, with the Gravel Soul, and Silver is actually the most conductive metal. I know it's one of the most conductives, along with, I think it's tin and gold. I don't remember how they're ordered, so I'll just take your word for it. Might be why Slime's Dragonkin for Yellow Lightning. Maybe that could be the explanation. But the problem is how silver and gold is treated in the game in general, so I do question then. I guess that it ultimately goes to the question of what's the relationship between silver and gold exactly? Are they really so different, or is it really the truth that gold derives from silver in a sense, right? I wonder if it's an idea that they have the flower they're cultivating and they were spreading the poison there. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be dripping down. Oh. Are there any of the poison caves I should be looking at? I don't think so. We have Seethe water here. But you know what? I guess I'll check that because I don't remember. Possibly ties to Miquella's Goldenite Albinorix. I mean, considering they use the pure gold stuff, I'm willing to just bet on, you know, using powers of pure gold. I mean, we see Albinorix are highly absorbative, or absorbing? Whatever the word is. But they're very liable to absorb other powers, as we see with blood and stuff. So I'm willing to just say, oh, you know, pure gold, all that jazz. Yeah, no dripping here either. Yeah, so it can be something. You see, in this case, though, you can make the argument about all the bodies, though. So you could make the case it's still seeping down. They're just not using the abandoned cave thing. And I guess you could argue the same here. Right? With the Witchbane ruins. Absorbent, yeah, that's the word. Well, my desire for Loki's attention has been filled. I should turn to my box and lurk once again. No problem, Mercy. We're always happy with our lurkers. You have been talking a lot more in the chat, though, Mercy, so it is appreciated, right? We love having you. There's just the regular poison stuff here, right? So there's nothing really I can gain from that. How am I not dead yet? Like, I'm trying to die. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so it could be a case of top-down. I guess the major question for me would have to be where the... I forget, did these bodies poison you by default? I don't think so. I think they have to actually be having, like, a poison effect around them, right? Pretty sure these are just normal boys. What are we looking for today? Just looking at enemies and stuff. Trying to sort through, especially now that we have the abnormal stone cluster boys all covered, right? We got our little stone ball worms all sort of in their order. I'd like to do that for a few other enemies on a short stream today. See, the thing is that battlefield has lots of bodies. I think all we have here is that there are coffins and stuff. But I don't think there's any bodies in the poison waters or anything. This guy's burned, but he doesn't have a weapon on him, huh? So yeah, see, we have a few captured, conscripted soldiers and stuff. Now, granted, we do have, what's it called? Yeah, here. We do have this. So maybe the idea is that the bodies have already been used, but the poison is left behind. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know. I don't know. Yay, Lord of the Wandering Mausoleums. They're Nox architecture, but why are they having soulless demigods in them? Actually, yes, this is actually the exact place to do it. Let me just... Let's do it from over here, because I cannot stand listening to that bell endlessly. There we go. So, what looks like happened? You got Miquella. Now, Miquella has made a pilgrimage to this church over in this area before. You find some of his branches here, just like you find them at the beginning of this pilgrimage site. All the way over here. I can't believe this thing is actually here. Anyway, so you have the start of the pilgrimage site here, right? And then this is the Church of Radagon. This is where Radagon's legend began. He fought in the Leerdian Wars, and he became a hero, yada, yada, yada. It's so great, and he went from hero to lord. So you follow Radagon, same path. So you go, woo! Oh, sorry, whoop. A little overshot there. Woo! And then you go through here, under the overpass. Woo! You go across the bridge here. Woo! And you go down Storm Hill. Woo! And you go across Limgrave, woo! And you go across the bridge, woo! And you go up here, woo! And then you get off the highway around this point, yeah, woo! And then you cross the rope bridge here, woo! And then you're there, and you made it to the Church of Radagon, the moment Radagon became a lord, when he saved dear old America from that vile, vile, vile Tarnish, who decided to go back on his word, who did not be exiled like the rest, who did not comply with the will of God, right? Anyway, so Radagon, oh, he becomes a lord, right? So Miquella, being a Golden Order fundamentalist boy, you know, raised by daddy, he made the trek here before. Now, we fast forward all the way to after Godwyn is killed and all that stuff. Now, Miquella has a problem. He doesn't like that his half-brother is dead. He doesn't like that his half-brother is, you know, causing all the death blight and all that crap, right? He doesn't like any of that. And he doesn't like that for any of the other soulless demigods either. So his plan is, okay, I'm gonna try to solve this soulless issue. I'm gonna make sure that they all can die proper, in accordance with fundamentalism. So how's he gonna do that? Well, he decides he's gonna take a bunch of knights and soldiers and stuff, and he's gonna come over here, back to where he did the pilgrimage once upon a time, because this is a nice, remote corner of the land that a soulless demigod who got killed, probably at Castle Morn, maybe even, you know, some member of House Morn or whatever. Anyway, point is, got assassinated. You got a soulless demigod here. It's nice, it's remote, it's out of the way. You kind of do your own thing without much having to worry about. Okay, good. You may notice now how the dirt roads are here. You got a dirt road that follows all the way over to this shack. Where's the shack? It goes all the way over to the shack over here, right? So this was a normal road, shack's always been here and stuff. But then you may notice some rooms that aren't connected to any dirt road. Like this little facility here. Or this one over facility here. What were they doing here? They seem to have only existed long enough to build them, use them, and then abandon them, not even bothering to get a dirt road all settled down for them. Well, as we can see, one of them has the scythe, which is perfect for reaping off heads, as Bloodborne's Gurman loves to show off. And a few pages for nobles and the things that we would have there. On the other side, you have ruins with a bunch of coffins and things, constructing stuff with which to house bodies. And so, the idea seems to have been that you would have a bunch of people who would train and practice and try to develop the art which became our headless soldiers, and a bunch of people over here who would practice trying to figure out how to construct a vessel with which to house the soulless demigods. You put this together, you take their heads and stuff, which you can see. Now we're gonna have to deal with. Let's do this. Let's do this. Go all the way over here. La la la. There's our headless soldiers. And there are some of their heads. Right? So you use these two arts that you're developing independently, trying to create these mausoleums, trying to create these like immortal soldier guardian boys and whatever, right? To try to protect the soulless demigods as they're apparently going through some process with which they hope to have their souls restored. Now, we may see some progress on this with the jumping ones over here, because they're actually unique and stuff. But that seems to be the basic idea. I had a good day so far, but that just made it super. Humanity has been restored. Bless you the moon upon your journey, Loki. No problem, Mercy. Hey there, how's it going? Hey, I am. It's going swell. Anyway, so that's like the very quick version on the mausoleums. Now, as for the Nox stuff, it could be that Miquella was referencing the Nox for things or had some connections to Nox and stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to claim that I have looked so deeply into Miquella. Most of my understanding of him is very surface level from, you know, just looking around. But that's why these types of streams are very useful, because I can go around seeing more enemies and get a better idea of all the little stories and stuff, so we can start, you know, figuring out what's data we can exclude from this analysis, what's data we should include, etc., etc. Because every little thing counts. Blessings of the Lord upon you, Loki. That's a funny, Well, we had a certified Loki moment. So Miquella's working with the Nox? I wouldn't say necessarily working with them, but could be, sure. I'd say at the very least he's referencing them. Which I think makes sense, because I've talked about before. I also suspect that Miquella might have attended Raya Lucaria. I'm very suspicious of that, and I think it may have been something, it could be that some of the people who became the Cuckoos, or maybe even became... Yeah, there's a very good chance that some of the people who became the Cuckoos were siphoned off to become the Knights here. That all the Guardians we see and stuff, because there has been connections made between Cuckoos horses and the Headless Soldier horses, the Knight horses, I guess I should say. What are they called officially? I forget, like Mausoleum Knights or whatever. Anyway, the point is that it's very possible that Miquella has connections there, and if he has connections to Liurnia and the Carians and Raya Lucaria and stuff like that, he may have connections to the Nox by extension, because the Carians and the Nox were like trading buddies. Is the sacrificial axe the item drop for the normal Deathbird and suddenly Liurnia exit? Yeah, what's this? Oh, you also get this the Deathbird ritual axe here, I think, in the catacombs. That could be a reference, kind of like how some of the Godric stuff is echoed by the Morn Hero. I can see what Xavier is saying in a meta sense. I don't know if the Deathbird stuff was like something that that Miquella was directly referencing though yet. Maybe it depends on stuff like about the Eclipse and things, and if I can find anything else connecting Miquella to Deathbirds, but like maybe. Headless guys are called Mausoleum Knights. Okay, so they are just Mausoleum Knights. Oh, hey, Arena. Oh, wow, girl. Really? I've never talked to you even once? Huh, crazy. Wow. Alright, Weeping Peninsula I think we've pretty thoroughly explored. There's nothing else really to say here. Limgrave, I don't think there's anything here either. I think we've covered, like, every corner of this place at this point. The only thing I find interesting is that I think let me go back here just to make sure, but I think the Cuckoo Everjail is the only one that doesn't have the guys actively, like, you know, spraying it with their lights. You get the Ghost Flame arrows at the Halo. Ooh, okay, that's good. Yeah, and then you combine that with, like, the Deathbird, so even if it's not directly connected, it might be just, like, a, you know, a little foreshadowing. Ooh. Okay, Xavier, you might be cooking. Oh. Okay, I can see you cooking. You covered most of it and all. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we covered it. Yeah, these are the only ones where none of them actually are doing anything with the Everjail. I'm curious why that is. My only thought is that maybe because it's only been recently used, and if it's only been incredibly recent, then therefore they have no reason to try to power it because, you know, it's at, like, max battery. Only thing I can think of. You ever looked at the other side of the Nox Aqueduct architecture and the other side of Anir Alim? No, but just from what you're saying, I can vaguely see it at least. I don't know if they actually reused any of those assets. God, Liurnia. Liurnia with high LOD just, like, absolutely makes you chug. Every day I wake up and I drop to my knees praying to and praising the Lord that Michael Zaki did not put a Scouser accent in this game. What the hell's a Scouser? Is that another Brit, a Brit accent? Because I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with all of them. You get the Ghost Flame arrows at the cave where the Leonine Crusader is, and those are the only place where you get the items from pickups. And those are the only place where you get the item from. Oh, the only. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. There could be something there then. Study hall we've covered. We've covered all this. We covered all that. We have the puppets and stuff. Highway South. Cliff Bottom Catacombs. We've covered that. We've covered that. We know this. This has all the typical stuff. We know about the Godric, you know, the Godric lookalike guy there. The Golden Scion. We got the flowers and the... yeah, I think we've covered pretty much all of Liurnia, too. Like, I don't think there's any section where I'm like, man, we really need to get a little bit more on this area. We have the Frenzy stuff here. We have the mausoleums, like I mentioned. We got the Ruined Labyrinth. We got the Church of Vows. We got more of those Fire Watcher guys there. Obviously, you also get them as drops from the Fallen Hawks. So, yeah, of course, yeah. You were talking specifically about item pickups from, you know, looting, not drops or anything, which, again, I understand. The Gelmir Campsite, Volcano Cave, Rodent of Iniquity, Seathwater Terminus. Are the Finger Creepers only at the entrance to the, Volcano Manor? Is that the only place we find them? Hey there! Where there's a whip, there's a way! Oh no! I'm doomed. Evening there, I'm good to have you here. Temple of Eglay, the Prison Town Church, the Guest Hall. We've covered. If there's a proper labyrinth in a Souls game, Bloodborne 2. Bloodborne 2. Open world Bloodborne with actual Chalice dungeons fully modeled underneath. It'll be the best, I promise. It'll be the greatest. Imagine finding the actual corpse of the headless, bloodletting beast at the like the very bottom or whatever. And it's just like a random corpse. Maybe you got something. Maybe they'll even show the actual killer or something. I don't know. Like, oh my god, there's just so much potential. Oh, but Bloodborne would bankrupt Daddy Miyazaki. No, it's fine. He can do it. He'll make him money. Honestly, PS5 just needs more exclusives. Like, there are way too few exclusives on the PS5. It's kind of ridiculous. We'll take shots at this. We need an actual dungeon crawler. I mean, isn't that kind of what we're getting with Night Rain? I guess right, Night Rain's more of a roguelike than a traditional dungeon crawler, but... Michael Zaki would bankrupt himself. He could just to make his games bigger. I feel like if he had all the time in the world, yes, but because he knows he's on a budget, that's why he doesn't want to do the Elden Ring style games too much. I'm sure he hasn't completely given up because he still wants to create his perfect game, but, like, no. Since his Ash of War, Winged Sight, since his Ash of War, prevents healing, could it possibly kill too thoroughly for someone to become a Mausoleum Knight? I mean, sure, maybe. I mean, that's presumably why you have to test it and, you know, mess around with it to get it just right, I would assume. Remember some of the Albinaurics here? Cast Magic Downpour? No, I do not. That's connected to Crystallians and stuff, right? That's interesting if there's a connection there with, Rykard. We need more Kingsfield, that's the answer. That's the next franchise to do. Kingsfield. Make a Kingsfield remake. I mean, more like the Kingsfield games. Well then, you know what? Just make a bunch of Kingsfield reimaginings. Update the games, expand the narratives, add more items and stuff with the traditional Souls formula to help, you know, flesh it out maybe a bit more, you know? Maybe change up some enemies or something, or help contextualize them so they fit better into the wider lore, like, you know, just do more stuff with the world building. I could see it. Also, regarding your speculation about the Miquella and the Deathbirds, the wings on the Mausoleum Knight's armor reference the Deathbirds. Oh, that's right! I did forget about that. I always forget that detail. Yeah, that's true. So that's another connection. So you know what? I can see it. The more, you know what? With that there, then you know what? I think we at least have to say that Miquella was definitely conscious of the Deathbirds. Whether or not, like, he actually, like, did personal research, or it's just kind of that thing where, you know, it's a story that, you know, he's like, okay, that. I think you could at least say that, and I think when you combine with the arrows and stuff, yeah, I think there's a good case for it, then. Using a version of the Deathbird ritual or something, yeah. It could, you know what? It could be that, Miquella was trying to, reverse engineer the Deathbird stuff, and I don't know where the headless thing comes into it, but that was like somehow his method he was trying to perfect with it. Maybe because of the whole angels things and the messengers of death or whatever. Because we still don't really know what those angel stuff is. If it's just like a random pagan legend, or if there's some. I assume there's something legit about it. I don't know what it would be. Unless Miquella repurposed old Nox stuff for the mausoleums. I think the more likely scenario, at least this is just my opinion, is that the Nox stuff is again either because of a Liurnia connection, and Miquella coming from, you know, that world in the Liurnian culture, like he was embedding, because that's where he would presumably get a lot of his and it makes sense, right? Like, you have this prince, and he's becoming this really hardcore fundamentalist or whatever, so he needs to have the highest education on learning the most about reason. So where are you going to go? To Raya Lucaria, where you can master reason. That's where, Radagon, you know, Liurnia, Caria, Raya Lucaria, that's where Radagon went to also cultivate his knowledge. And we know Radagon has a huge influence on the school before the Shattering, because of all the items and the wolf and all this stuff. Like, he came back, drops off some stuff to his wife, and basically says, okay, I'm in charge. I'm basically in charge now while she's depressed, so... I'm your Elden Lord. So, like, it just makes sense. But, the other alternative I would say is that it could be because maybe something related to the Eclipse is connected to Nox. Because I've seen some people make connections between the holes on the mausoleum and the Eclipse stuff that's going on in Soul. I don't know if that's true, though, so that's something I'd want to explore more. Anything else on enemies? We have the ruins here. As I said, I'm very happy with what we found with the tunnel here, because now it's like, okay, there's a deep root. There's a deep root connection here with the random Estelle thing that we saw here. Because it made no sense to me why we had the Estelle thing here, but then we have the other ones in the north. Oh, you know what? That's actually something to check out. Is there anything in between the beast and the miners that we can look at? Oh no, chat, we're looking at miners again. Somebody stop me. Don't let me go on my Mogark. Don't worry, we are running past the miners. Yeah, no, it's just empty. It's just empty fields. It also might relate to Albinaurics if the Winged Scythe works like the Albinauric pot due to the same in-world mechanics. Yeah, that'd be something to look into as well. It could be just some entity we've never seen before the game has yet to introduce us to. Because clearly there's a lot we don't know about the spirit side of things still. I don't remember if I took a shot or whatever of this stuff, but I guess I'll... Whatever. We'll come back later. I don't really want a shot of that guy right now. Least sus Loki stream. Wait, what's the connection? Do you mean between the Liurnia and the Noxa there? I need some clarification, because I've been talking about a lot of connections. I've kind of said that they didn't use the fully grown Fallen Star. Oh, no! Oh, you mean the Estelle, don't you there? The connection would be that we have the Estelle, you know, the mini, you know, gray hanging Estelle thing. I think they call it officially a... I think the localization at least calls it Malformed Star or something. We have one of those here. It's like, okay, so if the idea is that, like, Estelle is leaving these things behind and they then grow to become their own little thing, then we have one at Deeproot Depths, you know, coming up the pit that the thing is atop of, right? So you have one in Deeproot Depths, one here in, here at Uhl Palace Ruins, and then you have the last one here, right next to the Hermit Merchant. Yeah, the Estelle thing. Yeah, that's the connection here. I'm so happy that I found that one. Because I'm like, I was wondering what that was all about, but I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like with the Mogwin. It's like with the Mogwin Palace, Caelid, Wailing Dunes connection with the ruins and stuff. It's like, okay, yeah. I kind of said they didn't use... Yeah, okay, so... but I guess they wanted to show the impact was recently Hinterlands. It could be, like Nightsound's pointing out, though, it could also just be that there's a long life cycle. Like, I don't know. The question would be is if the Falling Star Beasts do mature to become Estelle. I can believe it. I totally can believe it, but again, I don't know. Because I don't know, for example... We have the other Estelle that's, you know, beneath here or whatever. How long has that been sitting there versus all the others? Like, we have the one here, right? Like, how big is the difference, really, between Gale... Oh, wait, it's not Gale Tunnel. It's, the Celia Crystal Tunnel. Like, well, how big has the difference really been? I don't know. That would be a huge question for me. What's the term for the fully grown version of them? You mean Estelle Natural Born of the Void? Or do you mean the Fallen Star Beast? Because that I do not know. Because for Estelle, like, Natural Born would be, like, the spawn of the darkness, right? And, you know, the darkness being, as we now know, he referenced it, obviously, outer space, the cosmos, the greater will, etc. How the hell did I do that? You know, I am impressed with my ability to somehow glitch out this game. And I don't know if it's because it's me or if it's because of the mod. If the camera mod just makes me go so fast that sometimes I don't know, I clip through collision. Somebody also considers that some of these space beasts might be traveling while already mature, a road seeking a crater home, hatching from eggs, etc. Yeah, I haven't looked too closely at the Falling Star Beast, so... I'm more or less taking it for granted that they do turn into Estelles, but I'm not 100% sure if that's true. It could just be that they're different branches on the family tree, where the Falling Star Beasts, they have the Estelle head, but they don't actually become Estelles, per se. I'm honestly not convinced that the Estelles are the next form of Falling Star Beast, considering there's a fully grown Falling Star Beast in existence. Yeah, that might hamper the idea. In which case, the argument could be that Falling Star Beasts and Estelles really are just different branches on the family tree, as it were. They're different directions that stars can go. That said, it is still questionable then why they have the Estelle head basically embedded in them then, right? I guess the idea would be maybe the head is like the core, and then everything else sort of forms around it, and it just sort of depends on other circumstances, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. I can look at the Falling Star Beast names, though, at least, and see. I'll post that along with all the Estelle thing names, so that way we can all like have like the same thing to work with on the Discord. You have just typical stuff here. There we go. I'm like, you gotta transform, my conscripted civilian man? When I first played the DLC, I thought the glowy branches behind the Shadow Tree were the Earth Tree's branches peeking over, but it's just the canopy of the Shadow Tree turning into a Spirit Tree. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, if the brown outer wall Grand Sex's tail drapes over predates the Dragon War, does that mean the wall already had Farmazula carvings too? Which wall are we talking about? The brown outer wall? Where is Grand Sex's tail? Let me see where that thing is. Alright, let's see. Oh, this thing. Right? This, right? I don't know about the White City wall you're talking about, Night Scout. It looks like it's all vaguely brownish. Unless you're talking about, like, I don't know, something like over here or something. It all looks the same color to me. But in terms of, like, the actual walls, then, yeah, I'd assume these walls are the same, more or less. Like, maybe they were repaired or something, but, like, the assumption would have to be that Grand Sax hasn't really moved, right? The way they have the body and stuff, it's very clearly supposed to be, like, kind of a collapse, right? Like, this is his dying breath, and then he froze in place. Like I said, I'm not sure if the idea is, like, you know, the way his body is structured, his neck and his, like, you know, it sort of just lock, you know, the different joints and stuff and the scales and stuff, maybe lock it into place, or what have you. But it seems pretty clear, like, this house was never repaired, which is honestly kind of funny when you think about it, considering that people would regularly be going through here, right? Like, it's not like this wasn't a major avenue anymore. Like, it definitely was. But, like, they abandoned basically at least this part of the city. This you could also argue, but this could be because of the ash and stuff from what we see, right? Then you have just this section of the lower quarter left, ironically. White wall equals wall you climb from his wing in the city. Ah, you mean this one. Okay, because when you're saying outer wall, I'm like, well, this would be the outer... Actually, this is still technically the inner wall. Like, this is the outer wall, right? Like, you got the outer fencing, inner fencing here. But if you're talking about it in terms of the city, okay, yeah. So, like, this would be, like, the fortified manor quarter, right? And this has, like, a wall that's a bit... yeah, brighter compared to that. Now, this hasn't been repaired at all. Wait, why is half of Langdell flooded? I don't know. Maybe maybe attempting to burn the Erd Tree caused fires to break out here, and then the idea was like, okay, we're gonna just deflood the zone, and everything collapsed? Who knows? Maybe. Anyway, I would assume that these walls are the same as they have been. Again, like I said, there's some silliness here. Like, really? They couldn't at least break off, like, piece of this wing or whatever? But I get it. They want to really... Let's be honest. Miyazaki basically said, I really want to have this image of a giant-ass dragon in the middle of the city telling you of the history of this place, right? He just really wanted this image. And so they're not trying to, you know, make it 100% realistic here. Fair enough, I guess. They use the same cuts again in the Shadowkeep, making a flooded district. Wonder what it means. I think in the terms of Shadowkeep, there probably was also a fire thing there. This one, you could at least argue about, right? I haven't done, like, a full analysis, but all we know is the entrance was viable to go through during Godric's time, so you'd have to make the case that either A, it was to stop Godric's forces from coming in, which I am skeptical about. I don't think you need to go that far when they haven't even broken through the walls. Like, if you're going to do this, wait until they actually, you know, enter and this area of the city is lost. The next option would be, obviously the nobles also think that maybe they could have gone through the door, so clearly, during the fighting and all that stuff, this was still here. Another thing, another idea I've posited is that it might have to do with, the Estelle thing happening underground in the Eternal Cities, though I think I backed off on that for the most part. I think the last option that I'm positing here is probably the most likely, which is that, yeah, there was a fire. Whoever it was, whether it was Vike, whether it was what's-his-face, Bernal, or whatever, whoever it was, someone tried to burn the Erd Tree. It caused some damage, but, you know, the Erd Tree, well, we know how that went. It brought a bunch of ash here, burned down sections over in the pagan quarter, but no one cares about those filthy, stinking pagans, frickin' misbegotten, so they kind of got, like, left out to dry. And then, this section got, like, basically completely doused and destroyed. It's Godric. You were researching, Dung Eater's dialogue recently to determine how likely it was that there truly was an outer moat or inner moat. Yeah, it was a moat. In fact, it was so funny, because when I decided to check my own references, I also call it a moat. So, I know I've definitely verified that before. I just completely forgot, because I have not looked at Dung Eater stuff in, like, eternity. Probably Bernal's Finger Maiden. Vike's Evergaol cell in place he didn't reach the Forge, but Bernal can reach Farum Azula. Well, maybe. Morgoth's really not using the city funds properly. No, he is not. Clearly, when he's in the middle of a war, he should be spending more of those war funds and trying to clear up this giant dragon. Like, think of all the Gravelstone you could use to improve your weaponry. Just think of it, chat. The potential. Sure, it's only really good against fighting other dragons, but just the potential. You could just have endless weapons you could forge from this. See, Morgoth just didn't think big picture. That's his problem. Guy had no grasp about economics and how to manage resources. He didn't play enough RTS games down in the sewers. Need to play some more Civ 7 while he was at it. Yeah, nothing special here. But yeah, I'd assume these walls are authentic. I don't know about the Farum Azula construction part, but I'm pretty sure none of these walls have been changed. If you have this giant statue thing. Well, this is where this isn't really realistic. Yep. God, there's a lot more clipping than I remember. Oh, hey, there's a guy in there. All right. May as well grab that while we're here. And Night Rain Morgoth's gonna be too busy hunting us, not realizing we want the same thing, dude. Get rid of the Night Lords. I'll be honest, I don't even know what they're gonna go for. If the idea is gonna be it's gonna be a simulation of Margit or something, or if it's gonna actually be like Morgoth in the spirit realm and he's been resurrected, but he thinks he's still alive. Like I don't know what the plan is. It's gonna be funny though if it's gonna just tell us that during all the events of Elden Ring, this whole parallel thing is happening with the Night Lord, and Morgoth's basically been this entire time like just too busy fighting off like random ass Joes in this other dimension to actually be dealing with us, the Tarnished. Really? Really? It's just Gravelstone? Really? Okay. Heyo, Victor, how you doing? Putting the stream on while you finish work? Oh, feel free to do whatever you want. Alright, so, this stuff we don't need. We've already taken all our... like, we know what this place is all about. Nothing I need to add there. And like I said, I've checked out all the enemies and stuff, so. I've also been trying to explore an alternate possibility which could allow the Astrologer's Ruins to exist for longer. So previously, I've said with the Forbidden Lands and stuff that I would date this to these weapons and stuff to the Giant War. So you have some of Castle Sol's forces that are trying to assault, you know, the newly conquered Sun Capital / fortified manor and stuff and try to take that back, and they get rebuffed, right? So I put forward that. Now the problem I've had with this scenario is that it doesn't really explain what's going on with the... Well, you got the Banished Night weapons, all this stuff, that's all good and all that. But it doesn't really explain to me what's going on over here with our pals, the Zamor. Ow. The Zamier! Get me back up there. Get me up there, coach. Put me in. Wait, what did I just pass? Just a rock, okay. Because then you get here, and then this place is in ruins. And it makes absolutely zero sense to me why this is in ruins with its people kind of just waltzing around. Unless this is supposed to be relatively, again I'm speaking, relatively a recent destruction. But if it's a relatively recent destruction, then who the hell did the destroying? So my thought process would have to be that someone came in and caused some casual destruction over here. And then we see more of the weapons over here, right? There's Gravelstone by the bridge into the capital, if you remember, on a corpse. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just kind of like Gravelstone, really, like, you know. I was kind of hoping when it's a big, you know, the shiny blue item, it might have been something really good and meaningful, but it's like, nope, it was just Gravelstone. Anyway, then you go through here, and you find the weapons again, start again. So we have fighting, nothing really here, more fighting. So the gap is here in the center. So my thought process has been that this is part of the Giant War. And that these were basically some clashes with Castle Sol before the big battle up through here, right? And again, we also see it up here at Stargazer's Ruins, and of course at the entrance to Castle Sol's main gate here. So you have essentially a defense of the Astrologer's Ruins, but ultimately it failed. The village of the Astrologers gets destroyed. And you also have the fighting here at Sol. God, I will do anything to get away from that goddamn noise. But, the fighting over here is very clearly related to the Destined Death people. They're doing the Sol Eclipse and the whole, you know, counteracting Godwin stuff. Makes sense that they're trying to essentially, you know, counteract that. But then the question is, if they are doing the fighting over here, then if the Astrologer Ruins was not actually destroyed during the Giant War, then could that be the explanation for the fighting and the weapons there as well? That that some of the garrison of Sol, working with the Astrologers for God knows how long, and thereby the Carians and things, had essentially been operating, you know, having a small detachment here, but they got overwhelmed by the Death people and all that, and they all got slaughtered in Death stuff, and now, you know, the Death people were obviously moving on to Castle Sol as well, where the main focus was, and then, you know, they, what's the word? Then, you know, the bats are left in to, you know, clean up the corpses and stuff like that. That could be an explanation. If so, then, the question would be, what's happening here? Is that also not related to the Giant War? And my thought process is, maybe it's Morgott. Maybe, you know, alongside or before the Rykard thing, there was a battle with the Castle Sol folks because they're related to Miquella and stuff. The Castle Sol folks basically got pushed back by Morgott's forces all the way through here, right? Now, because the Zamor essentially gave them Castle Soul free package for free passage for the rebellion. Morgoth essentially destroyed the village as a punishment or whatever, left the Zamor alive but destroyed their actual village. And they moved on, fought them to basically a standstill back here with the Castle Soul folks, because the Soul basically seems like they would have had to have retreated. They basically were like, okay, it's not worth trying to defend this village or whatever, you know, we'll go to the more defensible position in the valley or what have you. And then that obviously didn't work out. And I think then probably they got stopped, and maybe they made a deal, which is why Malenia's allowed safe passage through the Langdell stuff. Maybe that's the idea, is that basically it's like, okay, we're not going to do anything with the capital, we're not going to assault or whatever, okay, but in exchange for, you know, like, us coming back or whatever, can we, like, work out a deal where you will let Malenia force to get safe passage, because Miquella really wants us to go pick up his hubby. I'm wondering if that's how it actually played out. Now, I want to explore that scenario more, try to make sure that there's no more problems versus the alternative, but that is something I'm considering, and it would allow the Astrologer's Village to essentially be able to exist concurrent with most of the timeline for the Carians and things. What's poppin', Loki, bro? Well, you can hear me. No, Bray, I'm popping a lot. I don't think the Zamor would be let go and coming back if they were enslaved. I don't think that would be... That doesn't make much sense to me, because we see stuff with the Misbegotten or whatever, right? Like, we should be seeing more Zamor than probably, like, you know, around as enslavement, in my opinion. Especially if they're being kept as gravekeepers and things. Now, maybe, but I don't know. I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't think the escape scenario works either, Night Scout. That's the problem I have. Like, they all happen to escape and group up like that. I just don't see it. Any other enemies, though, that are worth trying to think about? No, we got demi-humans. You know, tribes exist everywhere. That's not a problem. We've covered the whole summit area pretty extensively, so there's nothing really to learn more new there. We've covered all this stuff here pretty extensively. I don't think there's anything new there. Are there enemies in catacombs or mines or something that is unique that's worth highlighting? I don't think so. Artist Shack, Eastern Tableland, Mausoleum Compound, Ruin Labyrinth, like, no, Bellum Church, no. There may be, like, one-off, like, enemy little setups or something I'm not thinking about that, like, have something unique to say. Yeah, I think we've covered the whole map, chat. I can't think of anything where I'm like, damn. Like, damn. We need to look at that. Like, we've got it pretty much covered. We have some of the Ghost Boys there. We have the Limgrave Tunnels there with the typical stuff. Fort Height, I'm pretty sure we've got that and the whole Mistwood covered pretty well. There's that little thing here, but that's been covered previously. Artist Shack. Like I said, I can't think of anything else in Limgrave that I have not looked at. The whole lands between damn. Yeah, like I'm feeling like the only thing left that I can really think of, and this is more like in the dungeons area, is Halig Tree. Like there could be stuff in Halig Tree I'm missing because it's been a while since I've actually done a run through there. But like I think we more or less have most of the enemies and enemy types covered, at least in the broadest strokes. Like I said, there may be like some specific one-offs that we could still glean some special insights for. But like most of these I think we've covered, and we know what any unique or interesting enemies in the relevant lore would be for. Yeah, there's the grotto, there's the skeleton boys there. Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure it's just the worm faces and the slugs here. Actually, that would be a good one. So we have slugs here. I've talked about my position that I think these were flame slugs that got their flames doused by Deathblight, which is the explanation for why they have maggots. Otherwise, I think the maggots are probably... You could also maybe argue the same thing for the maggoted ones here. Not sure if that works here. I mean, I guess you have the basilisk here, so maybe. Those could be just ordinary, though. Other ones that have regular slugs... Oh god, I don't think there... Are there slugs in Liurnia? I don't think so. I don't think they're in Limgrave. Maybe underground? I'm forgetting? I'm pretty sure here it's just, where is it? So we have these boys here. Man-eating flower here. Man, first time I got to Haligtree, I got absolutely annihilated by the Revenants and no heals damaged them. Still scared of that place. Yeah, I think that's a cool little detail, but god, I hate the Revenants still. God, I hate them. Here's an armor detail that might matter. The Banished Knight armor altered and the Fire Knight armor seem to have the same red shirt as the underlying garment. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It could just be, you know, them using the same base thing, considering it's gonna be hidden under that stuff. But that's a neat thing. That's definitely worth keeping in mind. I'm pretty sure, though, the lore is pretty clear, though. They're part of regular noble families and stuff. Maybe you could argue maybe some of those noble families were from Banished Knights, because we know there were Banished Knights who fully converted and integrated into, the culture. I guess they weren't really Banished Knights, right? Farm colonists, I should say, if I'm being technical. I completely forgot. I don't remember where this takes you. Might be worth comparing the two to see if they really are the same red shirt. It could imply the Crusade forces were assembled back when the Altis were still recent. Oh. I'd still be skeptical of that, considering a lot of the other factors. But yeah, we can check. We can definitely do a comparison at some point. Unfortunately, I don't have Fire Knight armor on this character, so I can't even like pull it out and like just kind of put it on to see. Man, first time I got to Haligtree, I got absolutely no. I got that. You got any idea who made the suppressing tower and the Deathbird golems? I don't know. I could see it being where is it? Yeah, the tower here. I could see it being a bunch of different cultures coming together. I could see it being some ancient, like, you know, death tribe or something like that, where the Deathrite birds were first originated. I could see it being Farum Azula. I could see it being a lot of different people. There's a lot of mix of assets there. So, like, my biggest candidate would probably be the Ancient Dynasty. I think their influence is the most prominent and the most iconically recognizable. So I think that's where the assets would matter most that are reused. But I don't have a firm position on this. I don't think, like... At this point, it doesn't matter to me. In the future, that could change, but for right now, it's not, like, a priority. You got that. Horde said have Death Hex stuff. Do they? I don't recall. Oh, right, the lesser one. I was thinking about the priests, but no, yeah, some of the laity and the old men and stuff definitely do it, you know. Really interesting that Divine Towers are all Rao, but the center lands between towers completely different. Again, I don't know if the Divine Towers are Rao. I've said it before. I think, at least with the bridges especially and stuff, I think they could be something completely separate. I would not jump to saying they're Rao. Yeah, that makes sense. But again, do I know who could have made them alternative to Rao? No. So, hey, Maybe Rao's the best candidate for now. Imagine if the suppressing pillar is like a relic of Rot Seal on the Twin Bird's Outer God. Could be. Again, if it's a suppressing tower, the question would be what it's suppressing about death. It could be that Godwyn is circumventing that. And that's why we see some of the, you know, some of the death stuff happening there. Like, it's starting to leak out of the seal because of Godwyn's influence. That could be the idea. Yeah, I'm not seeing any unique enemy placements outside of the stuff at the bottom of the waterfall for obvious reasons. Oh, I never took the, from here. I just call them Rao instead of Blackstone. Rao would definitely be easier, right? I like calling them the AC for Ancient Civ. I find that one easier on my tongue and my hand when I type it. Well, what do we got here? Nothing, huh? Damn. It's just a causeway. Huh. Birds. Man, this deer is just like rocking out. He's like, rah, rah, rah. There you are, my friend. Yeah, Hordes have definitely used the Gravebirds for sure. So they could be responsible for making at least some of them. All of them, though, I don't know. I think Hordes are probably a really good candidate there. I think, like I said, there could be some ancient death tribe and stuff that isn't really defined. Like, and the thing is it would ultimately just be decided on how far can we trace back the death cult and how ubiquitous was it really. Like, did basically everyone incorporate it, even if their religions were otherwise different and stuff? Was that why Melena's whole flame thing was such an important, like, idea? It was like, America created this order of life, but it was, you know, so incongruent with what was traditionally seen outside of Farum Azula, that the idea would have to be she wanted to replace it by burning down the old tree and letting death reign in its place. Like, I don't know. Someone in chat thought that there was an exact extra Deathbird thing at the Weeping Peninsula. Checking it, there's a Eclipse Crest heater shield and a cookbook for the Rancor pots. An Eclipse Crest heater shield, you're saying, at the Weeping Peninsula. That would at least give some credence to the connection between the Eclipse and the Mausoleums and Death. Yeah. You gotta keep in mind, though, that the term for the Eclipse, right, and an Eclipse Sun, is this idea of the kanji for eclipse actually is it means like to, you know, can mean like to spoil something, like, you know, like a fruit like going bad or whatever, but it really means to like eat away at something, right? To you know, it's also a term you can use to like undermine someone, right? Because, you know, you're eating away at them from like beneath or below or whatever, right? But you know, getting at their underbelly. But there's definitely this idea of, like, you know, the sun being eaten away at with the eclipse, right? Which is why you see the image of the eclipse as like a sickle and stuff, and it's like a half circle and stuff like that. Trying to really kind of emphasize that kind of aspect. So my question would be, like, what is the eclipse really? Is it its own heavenly body, kind of like the multiple moons? Or is it something like the eclipse is like some sort of separate force that is actually trying to eat away at the sun? Right? And that goes back to the question of what is the sun? Is it connected to the greater will? Is it connected to the the giant's flame, the fell god, right? I wonder. I know Loki's theory is that the Black Moon was always underground, but if not, I wonder if it was used as the eclipse rituals and got destroyed. I don't... My only issue with if so is I think that might be too recent to help explain why like every sorcerer in every corner has like a piece of it. Then I think that might be hard to explain if it's happened. I think it makes more sense when it's during the Carian area, because during Carians, like, they're getting the Albinaurics, they're getting like the warp tech, they're getting pieces of the Black Moon. If all that stuff happens, you know, before all that, it makes more sense to me. Because from what we can see with Noxtella especially, it seems to be the idea is... Let me bring it here. It looks like at Noxtella, the idea was, okay, we found the Black Moon. This giant crystal embedded in there. Alright, we do the thing. We have our false sky to accompany our Black Moon. And I keep in mind, I call it like a crystal and stuff, but you could argue it's a legit moon because, like, from what we can tell, glintstone and the stars, you know, stone and stars are synonymous, right? Glintstone, meteors, stars, like, all of that stuff is all sort of connected. They're all just, you know, there's a wide variety of, like, space stuff. So the idea seems to be that originally they tried to do the Night Lord ritual here. It destroyed the Black Moon, and seemed to have caused the petrification thing we see here to a lot of the victims. So then you got the Nox priests and stuff who were insulated from this, apparently, during their rituals. But it seems like they still haven't given up, because then we have the throne in here. So I think especially considering they're putting in like their holy places, like here at the top or whatever, I think the idea is probably something along the lines of, you know what, we failed, we did bad, but you know what, we're still looking toward the future, we're still praying that we'll figure this thing out, and this will have something worked out to try again at some point. So I think that's probably the most likely scenario, and in that scenario it explains why they would want to dump all the Albinaurics, why they would want to, you know, give, you know, be so willing to hand out some of the technology stuff, because it's just, there's too much. It's just too much on them now after losing such a big chunk of their population. And now this is basically kind of just like a kind of like, I wouldn't call it like a monastery, but kind of like just a, you know, it's a place just for the priests now, right? Like, that's what the city serves at this point. We already know about this. There's the one guy here. There's nothing else. Yeah, I think... The only thing I can think of... No, we have the ants and stuff there. Covered that. We got that. Oh, we've covered deeper depths many times before. Huh. Maybe here at the Ainsel River Sluice Gate. I thought the Greater Will destroyed their Black Moon. No, that's... The Greater Will is responsible for the Nox going underground. It talks about how the people of the Nox were destroyed, essentially, you know, underground. But as we can see, and it was specifically for the use of the Finger Slayer blade, or whatever it's called. You know, it's all the typical stuff. And then when you go down this way, yeah, when you go down this way, that's where you get the Basilisk start appearing, because it's foreshadowing, you know, the other guys. Yeah, okay. Nope. And you got the coffins and things. We got some of them wood, most of them the stone. I do wonder about the wood, if it could be that other bodies are being dumped down here with the wooden coffins. Nah, because they put wooden coffins here, so no. At the very least, if the idea was that it's supposed to all be flowing from the well downriver, they put a few way too far up for that, right? And I'm pretty sure here. Look back here. Stone, stone. Okay. Same texture for the memory stones can be found in the chairs found in the Nox cities. I can believe that. I can totally believe that. I had a theory to check the Nox's nails for silver poisoning, but then I remembered they're all actually wearing gloves. Hey, maybe that's why they're wearing gloves. For fear of silver poisoning, you know? They don't want to get that mercury on them. That good old water silver. Liquid silver. I get angry every time I see him. Why can't we deck out Torrent? Why doesn't he have attacks or upgrades? Why is he so shit? I don't know. I'm pretty happy with Torrent as he is. Like, I don't know. I never find him... I don't got anything to complain about with my man Torrent. Okay, yeah, they do have some of the wooden coffins here. Well... If it's the same texture, could that mean the Nox built a lot of their stuff only after the Black Moon was lost, or did they have access to shards while it was intact? There's several ways to interpret that. Were they taking pieces of it to incorporate into their architecture? After it was shattered, did they only give some to the Carians and other pieces they kept for themselves to incorporate into their existing stuff? Is it not actually a Black Moon? It's just something made to look like it because it's a stylistic thing, right? Because again, their general thing is night, right? So the idea of, oh my god, the culture, which is obsessed with, you know, going back to the darkness of space, the night sky, creates a bunch of black crystal decorations for their furniture. Wow. Never saw that coming, right? Like, of course they... I would not take that by itself and, like, extrapolate too much from it. Now, if we had, like, say, let's say Night Rain comes out. And when Night Rain comes out, we get a secret Nox weapon, which is, you know, a sword which is embedded with some of the shards of the Black Moon. And then it mentions offhandedly how the pieces of the Black Moon were taken and distributed among the Eternal Cities or whatever. Then I think you can make a case that, okay, yeah, they're using pieces of the Black Moon in their furniture and stuff. In terms of the history of the Nox, however, let me go this way. I don't know who it is I pissed off. Oh well, damn. It could be the Estelle for all I know. But as far as the timeline is concerned, I pretty much settled on the idea that I guess it was that guy. I pretty much settled on the idea that it started Nokron, right? They have Nokron here where the ancient dynasty ruins were. I don't know if they came down from this angle or from the Caelid side or what have you, but whichever way they came down, they basically said, okay, we're going to establish Nokron here. Then they followed up the river to establish the Nameless Eternal City, right? They're like, oh, this is the source of the city. And then they followed the other branch of the river down the Ainsel. They found the Black Moon here, and they're like, okay, we'll establish a city here then because we want to slay this Black Moon. So I think it was something like, hey, where does this river come from? Oh, this is where the river ends up dividing. Okay, let's establish a city here, and then they end up establishing Ordina as they continue to follow the river and stuff. They're like, okay, so this is the lake thing. Let's look at this other branch of the river then. Okay, astrologers, let's take some of you. We'll give you some of our Albinorics and stuff, but some of you come with us, and we'll, like, you know, establish our own little colony here, right? As I talked about before with Nokron, like, Nokron's here. Astrologers come down this way. And they're like, hey, Nox, we're going to go meet with you here. And they're like, hey, let's establish our own little city here so we get their own colony. And that becomes the big Celia region here. And then you have Noxtella down here, and like I said, you have more astrologers coming down, and they establish Liurnia and stuff. They establish Laskyar, and the Rhea Lucaria Academy, and they hook up with Celia, and then, well, that's probably when the Academy really got started, honestly. If we're talking, it's probably the connection between these two, and they decided to do work with what they were mining here. So they start doing all that or whatever, and the Carians come down, and the Carians establish a foothold here on the Moonlight Altar, and then they start going down this way, right through the wells and stuff. And they hook up with the Nox over Now Lake of Rock, but, you know, when it was still just a regular river and stuff before Estelle ruined everything. Well, you know, Nox ruined everything, but, you know, Estelle prompted them to ruin everything. So, like, they start making a trading relationship here, and they got good things going and all that, and, like, that seems to be generally how it seems to play out. And all this happened after the collapse of the ancient dynasties below ground and the ancient civ above ground. I guess you could kind of say ancient dynasty is also above ground, because there they have, like, what I suspect is now a shipyard. So I think this is where they were sending all their giant stone ships from. I think the idea was this was the place where they would, you know, quarry, mine, whatever you want to do. Like, they would construct their giant stone coffins, prepare the putrescence for burial, and then send it off there that way. Maybe it's for other stuff, not just that, but considering we see a lot of their burials happen underground, I think it was just for the putrescence. They're just like, let all the people that are obsessed with death over there handle it. Found the Black Moon. You don't think the Nox invented it for their rituals? No. I think the Black Moon is just an especially large piece of black glintstone, which is located about here, right? So, yeah, essentially, you know, around here, around where we have, you know, this, the Raya Lucario crystal tunnel and stuff, I think there was probably just a giant Black Moon crystal, glintstone, whatever, that formed here underground. You know, maybe there's more to the history there, but that's the basics, right? They came across it as they were following the Ainsel River because they went up one branch and now they're going down the other. And then they're like, you know what? This thing is interesting. This thing could help us for what we're doing all the way back in Nokron and stuff, finding the Night Lord, right? And then they decided they would establish that and do their thing here. Now with Nokron, we can see a similar thing happened where they, you know, they tried to do the Night Lord thing. It failed. And we have the petrification thing happening here, right? The only place that the Night Lord stuff seems to have not been attempted was over at the Nameless Eternal City. Now, I don't know if that's because they were so focused on other things they didn't get to it. If the evidence of them working on the Night Lord stuff, like any throne or something would be destroyed with Estelle's destruction and stuff like that. I don't know about any of that jazz, right? But I think the general idea is that they ultimately became co-opted by America with the Erd Tree and all that stuff there. And they basically kind of became like a vassal or whatever. So they were kind of like a mediary for America and her Nox, you know, kindred, I guess you could say. You know, her fellow Newman. And obviously we know some of them went above ground. They settle in Lingdell. They fully convert and stuff like that in the lower quarter here and things of that nature. So there's a lot going on, point is. But it seems like the idea was like, at some point they attempted it here. I don't know what the basis was, if it was just like generic ritual crap, if it involved, if that was like, you know, the genesis of them creating Albinorix and working on the eventually, you know, developing Silver Tears, or if it's something else. It could be they were just basing it based on Uld and stuff, based on the, you know, them how they built their on top of the ruins and things like that. It could be something as simple as that, where they're like, okay, we're gonna look at the research. We're gonna look at what these ancient dynasty folks were doing, and then we're gonna try to use that, and maybe it's somehow connected back to their idea of going back to the stars. But again, that's pure speculation on my part. I have nothing really to base it on. Again, we have some graveyard stuff here, but that could literally just mean that, you know, shortly after the Ancient Dynasty and stuff, there were some remnants of the Ancient Dynasty still alive here underground, and they got assimilated by the Nox when they went underground and established the Eternal City, and this is the last remnants of their culture, you know, that would eventually die out, right? Because we don't know how long after the Ancient Dynasty or Ancient Civs collapsed that the Nox would end up, you know, performing their big betrayal. I assume the story of the Eternal Cities is the same as Yara Ghul, where they sacrificed the townsfolk for their ritual. Yes, I don't know about the sacrifice part. I don't know if this was necessarily intended. Maybe it was. Maybe that was all part of it. It was all part of, like, empowering the Lord or whatever. But I think it'd be hard then, after the first time, you know, to then convince a bunch of Nox that, hey, we promise we won't do it the second time or whatever, right? Yeah, what happened at Noxtella or what happened at Nokron's not going to happen again, whichever one came first. I assume it was actually Noxtella probably that did it first, if I'm being honest. I think Nokron probably came a little later. But, like, yeah, definitely, at least as a side effect, yeah, definitely, like, all the citizens ended up getting, they ended up getting, not good. They ended up turning into stone. Alright, so we go here then. And yeah, there's not really much in ways of enemies. There's just the Crucible Knights here, and then our favorite little zombie boys, and then the gargoyles. Alright, I think that's where we're gonna end the stream then, chat. I did a lot of talking about lore, honestly. Oh, damn! I thought I could make that jump, but I don't think I can. I did a lot of talking about lore, but honestly, it's because we've kind of covered all the stuff. So barring me forgetting where certain enemies are, which you know it's me, so that's probably gonna happen. We more or less have like everything we kind of want, if I'm being real. Yeah, like see here, like this is like there's like actual stuff in here. So is it actually Nox created, or do they just want it? Or are they just using fancy architecture? Like stuff like that, I do have questions about with Miquella and his mausoleums. Do you know if the Skeleton Knights have plates on their backs? I'm wondering if they inspire Bloodhound armor, but their capes are in the way. We can look at that very quick. We can definitely take a look at that. What's a good place for there's one down here, so no, I'd rather do the one here. I'm pretty sure these are easier to spawn. I feel like it's a goated theory. Yeah, maybe, we'll see. Have you considered the incredible theory that... Oh, no, sorry. I'm looking at what you're talking about, Tyrone. Have you considered the incredible theory that the Greater Will did nothing wrong and their cities just did that? Their cities... do you mean the whole petrification thing? Or the whole going underground thing? Again, I am not of the opinion that the Eternal Cities were something that existed above ground and then sunk underground. One, it doesn't look like that. By all indications, the Eternal Cities look like they're built like... That's just the terrain, and they built the cities into the existing terrain and stuff. Like, it doesn't look like anything actually sank underground. There's also problems with it. Like, for example, Noxtella would have to be split between a really high elevation here and a really low elevation here. And these is something that certain theorists will not bring up when they're trying to make their argument for these cities possibly existing above ground. And... the final thing is that when you talk about the, when you read item descriptions, they always try to specify that the people, the citizens of the Nox are the ones who were destroyed to the underground. They never talk about the, how do I put this? They never talk about the cities themselves in that way. The only thing that kind of gets referenced about that is that the Eternal Cities, the Fingerslayer Blade is proof of the Eternal Cities' high treason, which is accurate. They own the dagger, which, you know, the Nox originally used to commit the high treason, and they're still committed to it. Like, that's why they're putting it under their Night Lord. It's like, hey, Night Lord, take us back to the stars and help us war against the Greater Will, or whatever, right? Like, we want to continue with our treason. So, like, we're going to see a Night Raid because we do see Eternal City architecture, or at least I should say Noxian architecture. But we don't know if that's because it's a separate city that actually did exist above ground, if it's a piece of if it's another idea of an Eternal City that is being brought above ground, because that could happen too, right? Theoretically. From the in the new dimension that we're fighting in, whatever the place is called. And I just don't know. So, like, barring Night Rain having something different, I just don't think that the idea that the Eternal City sank is very viable. Especially when there's something called, like, the Eternal Cities and stuff like that. It sounds like if you're making a place that's called, like, Eternal City, it's probably because you got forced underground and you're like, no, we are going to be forever. And that you build a bunch of cities, you call that in order to make your point. No, it is just the front. There is no back to this breastplate. It wraps around the side, but that's it. It's an open helmet, a front for the best breastplate, and no other armor. If it exists, it survived. You know what would be cool? I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to see some of these knights when they were alive in the DLC. I mean, sorry, in Night Rain, the DLC. Night Rain basically feels like a DLC to me. I would really love if they made some of those, I guess they won't because it looks like they're going to reuse existing enemies and just include bosses, but it'd be really cool if instead of, like, skeleton knights, we get, like, actual proper Sun Capital swordsman looking guys. What about the spot higher up? Can you clip through the cape? Sure. The Nox people that were buried down were the Dynasty, because do we find their ruins above ground? I don't think they were Nox again. I think that was probably just survivors of the Ancient Dynasty that got assimilated. But in terms of, like, you know, Nox and stuff, we don't know what their burial practices, assuming they had any, were. We don't know what they do. Like, honestly, if you want my opinion, they might just have their dead used as puppets. Because that's what we see with the coffins and stuff in the sealed area. That's where we get the puppets, if I recall correctly, right? So it might be something as simple as that. But we don't really get a much more on that because, like, again, all the tombstones and stuff we see are Ancient Dynasty tombstones. Trump declassified JFK files, conspiracy theorists on suicide watch, as it turns out his head just kind of did that. Yeah, he just, you know, his head just spontaneously exploded. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see that stuff get declassified. We'll see. We'll see how much the FBI and the CIA burn it. Because let's be honest, we all know the real reason why they don't want to release that. They haven't wanted to release that stuff for the longest time. So we'll see. We'll see how much the FBI hasn't already burned or continue. Like they. I noticed during the. I noticed after the election that there were a bunch of trucks delivering shredders to the intelligence agencies. I found that very funny how that was happening. You know, could just be coincidence, you know? Maybe they were always planning on getting those, but, you know, just kind of funny. Kind of funny, you know, just gotta, you know, shred all those, you know, worthless documents. Totally not the classified ones, yep. Do we see any Nox settlement above ground in the trailer for Night Rain? Please, Miyazaki, give me lore. Yeah, we do see architecture and stuff. I don't know if it's I'm pretty sure it's above ground, because I'm pretty sure the lighting was, like, daytime lighting. But yeah, you definitely see, like, you know, Noxian architecture. The question is just, like, is that Noxian architecture, you know, anything else? Alright, I'm not seeing any further armor and stuff when we clip and stuff, or anywhere around here, so I'm pretty sure it's just the front of the breastplate. Is that a ruck up there? There's a layer you're seeing from the thin side? There might be rocks and stuff embedded in there, but I think it's just bone and things. I think it's just spinal column bone. Yeah, that's a bit clipping there. More bone. Nah, it's the only thing is here. There's not really any plate there. If there is, it's really short. Let me see if I can look at it from here. Yeah, that might be a plate. It's... No, it's just a continuation of this breastplate, yeah. It goes... Oh, no, it does... God, now I can't tell. It wraps around here for the back collar. So there is a back... Okay, the back... Okay, this is the back collar, then. And the back collar extends... Alright, so there's the breastplate at the front, and then there's the back collar, which extends... roughly here, so covers about the upper back. Not really far, though. Yeah. It doesn't really extend that far. It mostly just goes straight back. So these things don't connect. It's not a full breastplate. Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. The way it curves. Yeah. Okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, let me lower it. Yeah, see, there we go. We can see it now. Yeah, it's curving and stuff. Yeah, this thing doesn't go that far. Again, that's the other end of the armor right there. Yeah. Yeah, so basically right here. This is as far as it goes. And this is not including, like, the curve thing. You can't see my fingers, but, you know, the curve thing that goes, like, up to here. Could be, like, Bloodhound... I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Bloodhound Knights are kind of weird to me, because, like, they just want to be dogs. It's like, okay. Like, just the weirdest cult of yiffers I've ever seen in my life. But, like, okay, whatever. Whatever, furries. Elden furries. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end the stream here, okay? We went for a good hour and a half. Like I said, I gotta keep this on the shorter side. There's other stuff I want to do today and stuff like that, and there's not much I can do other than talk lore with you guys because, like, I think we've basically covered every, like, corner of the game and established the enemies and stuff. So really, the only question is there details on, like, specific enemies in specific dungeons? Are there little details, like what we found in Abandoned Cave that I'm overlooking? Like, that's the only stuff really left, in my opinion. And obviously, the DLC stuff. I've actually, or before we started stream, I actually did, like, the quickest speed run in the universe all the way over to Church of the Bud. Because I was wondering if maybe we could do Romina, but I decided against it. So, like, maybe after the rush all the way over here, we'll do that next time and try to look at more bosses and stuff. Because I would like to get more shots of Romina, just so I can have that to look at. I can't think of, like, the big enemies where I'm like, ah, yeah. Because we have the other character for us to look at, because, like, the only thing I'd want this character to do is look at bosses and mini-bosses. But, like, I don't recall anything that I haven't already talked about on, like, my Twitter posts or something about any of this jazz, so I think we're pretty much done with the enemy side of things. It's just a question now of, like, what items do they drop? Can we identify that? Like, do abnormal stone clusters here drop volcano stones like those over here? What about those all the way up here? Where's that? Yeah, where the Everjail is. Like, those are my questions now, is, like, establishing what enemies drop what. Maybe Nobre, I don't know if you're still in the chat, Nobre, maybe, I don't know if you have any ability to look at that type of granular detail on Elden Ring yet, but if we can figure out what the loot tables are for certain enemies and where to find them, that would be great. Maybe check Jagged Peak for volcanic rock compared to the abnormal stone clusters with it at Caelid. Yeah, maybe we could do that next time for sure. Anyway, but that, again, that's me talking, like, way into the future. I'm gonna end things here again. Thank you guys so much for those that decide to come up, show up, lurk, or whatever. It's great chatting with you all. You know, always fun to go over these things, and thank you always for adding your own 2 cents. It really does help me when I'm trying to shape my own thoughts, and, like, you know, you guys point out data sometimes I miss. So, see ya, bye.